everyone, and welcome to our next Early Years podcast. Today, I have Kim Chambers, our oral health practitioner for City and Hackney. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you, Verity.
Thank you for joining us. We've got a selection of questions from parents around the importance of oral health and supporting children's teeth. So I'm going to go straight into the first question. So this question is, my child has SEND. What are the strategies or tools that you recommend for children with sensory needs?
Well, first off, they should be brushing their teeth just like any other child. So trying to brush twice a day with fluoride toothpaste and a small or a soft or medium brush. That's the ideal. And of course, it's much, much easier said than done. It's really important that they're using the right amount of fluoride toothpaste as well. I just wanted to mention that. So under 3 should only be using a smear of toothpaste, and over 3 should be using a pea-sized amount of toothpaste. Now, when I speak to parents who have SEND children, brushing is often a problem. It's often really difficult. And the first thing I wanted to say is don't lose heart with it, because having worked with children for a long time, what I see is that they do change rapidly, and what they won't do one day, they will do another day. And over time, they tend to improve with things like brushing. So the first thing I'd say is try to keep up some form of toothbrushing every day. Even if you're not managing to do very much at all, just keep going with it, because it builds in the habit. And over a lifetime, childhood of doing that, they usually will eventually do some brushing. Whereas if it gets very difficult and it gets dropped out of regularity, then it's very difficult to resume again. You're kind of starting right at the beginning. So I just say, just persevere, even if it's really, really difficult. And some of the strategies that really help is, as much as you can, keep it as fun and light as you can, which is, again, easier said than done when you're battling, trying to do something, trying to get them to agree and the child doesn't want to have it done. But I have got some suggestions for that as well. So if you find you've only got 10 seconds and then that's their limit, they can't do more than 10 seconds, you're going to have a bigger battle on your hands. What I usually suggest is just divide the mouth up into little portions and use that 10 seconds to do different parts of the mouth every day, so that over the course of a week, you're getting to go the whole way around the mouth. Rather than just always doing, say, one side or the little bit at the front. And that way you will cover everything, and they'll get used to the experience of having the teeth brushed all over rather than just in one place. If it's really difficult and they won't even accept a toothbrush, if you're at the point where they won't allow a toothbrush in their mouths, then what you can do is just put a little bit of toothpaste on a flannel and then just wipe the flannel around the teeth. Sometimes that works really well when they're in the bath and having a wash anyway. You can use the flannel just to do on their teeth. It's still very useful. Any small amount is still useful, because if you're using toothpaste, you're introducing fluoride to the teeth, that's going to make them harder and much less likely to decay. And we know that children who do have special needs have got a much higher rate of tooth decay. And when they get tooth decay, they tend to have much more teeth decay, many more teeth in the mouth, as opposed to just one. They might have all of them decaying. They also often have a diet higher in sugar, because they may be very picky eaters and they may only eat a very small selection of things. So using the fluoride is really beneficial, because it's going to be hardening the teeth. So even if it's just a small amount, it's still worth doing. The other thing that's really helpful is, one of the reasons to visit the dentist is that if you go to the dentist, they can help with specific advice for your child. And they often have really good suggestions about what the best way to brush is. If you've got a young child, it's often better to lie them down in your lap, so that the child is more or less in the position that you would be at the dentist, because you're able to see much better in that position than you can sort of coming at them from front on. It's also a bit more of a relaxed position. They're lying down. You're not relying on them standing still or anything, because they're lying down in your lap. It doesn't matter if you use an electric and a manual brush. I find some children with special needs, they prefer an electric brush. They like the vibrations, whereas other children don't like it at all. And it doesn't really matter, as long as the brush head is fairly small so that it gets to the back.
Are there any specific types of toothbrushes or toothpaste? You mentioned the electric toothbrush, but is there anything else that you could recommend that could reduce the discomfort for a SEND child?
First of all, I would say the toothpaste. I think a lot of children don't like the mint, so avoiding the strong minty toothpastes. One of the best ones is called Oronurse, which is a non-foaming and flavourless toothpaste, and that works really well. There's no flavour at all in it, and it doesn't foam too much. So when you're helping with the brushing, and I forgot to mention this, young children will need help with brushing until at least the age of 7, and often later than that. They'll either need to be closely supervised or they'll need you to brush their teeth for them. Very few children under 7 will do a good job of brushing their teeth alone. It's also really important so that you're looking at how much toothpaste they're having so that they don't have too much toothpaste. The other brushes that are helpful, there's some specific brushes, like there's a Dr. Barman's brush, which has got 3 brush heads on it. So one part goes on the top of the tooth and then 2 heads go on the sides of the teeth. I don't know if I'm describing that very well, but it cleans all 3 sides of the teeth all at once. And if you're one of those people that you know your child will let you have 10 seconds and then that's it, you're done for the day, then that's often really helpful. It's not the ideal. I wouldn't use that first. And if you can brush for longer, that's always going to be better, but it's a good in between while you're getting them accustomed to brushing. The other things that are quite helpful are you can get some mouth props, which will just hold one side of the mouth open. You can also prop the mouth open by squishing 2 toothbrushes together by their bristles. And the child can bite on that. And that sometimes it makes it easier for them to stay open. Some children struggle to stay open. And you can open their mouth a little bit so that you can brush on the other side and then swap over. You can brush the other side then. That's very helpful as well.
So how can you create a positive environment for your child during the brushing, especially and considering if they do have SEND?
So I think some of the most helpful things are, as I said before, trying to keep it as light as you can. I would say that is the main goal, trying not to get irritated, despite the fact that it can be very irritating trying to brush somebody's teeth who doesn't want to have it done every day. But I would try and keep it as light and as fun as possible. It depends on your child. For some children, they prefer to just be on their iPads or something like that. That's distracting enough. Some children, you can have a special song that you always sing. I remember treating a child with SEN and his mum sang for a whole half an hour appointment his favourite song that he absolutely loved. And the other thing I've seen parents do very successfully is they save a special story. So there's a special story time that they do every day while they're brushing the teeth. And that can be about the teeth or it can be about a different topic. That often works really well. For some children who like music, there's a nice little app called Brush DJ where it plays 3 minutes of music and they can choose what song they want to have. That sometimes works well if they can choose a song. Some children might respond well to brushing charts, some not. Sometimes you can draw funny pictures on the mirror. That's sometimes a very distracting way to do it. If they're looking in the mirror while they're brushing their teeth, you can draw little pictures on the mirror. That sometimes works well too.
That's excellent. Some really creative examples there to support the child with toothbrushing. So what about when the child starts nursery? What can the nursery do to support toothbrushing, especially for a child with SEND?
So I work for Kent Community Health Foundation Trust and North East London Community Dental Services, and we run a tooth-friendly nursery programme in the City of London and Hackney as well. And I would really urge any nurseries who are interested in doing brushing at nursery to contact me through Verity, because we offer staff training and give advice about brushing programmes. And you can ask specifically for advice about a specific child if that's helpful. But more general advice, I would say, is if they're a little nervous about doing the brushing program, or you think they might be a little nervous, it might be a good idea to do a small group of children first, maybe some children who don't have special needs, so they can model what the program looks like. Because it's very important that the children are sitting down while they're brushing. They shouldn't be moving around using a toothbrush. It can be quite dangerous. So they can model how it's meant to be. And what we often find is that when other children are brushing, the children who aren't brushing will start to copy and they'll be much more likely to do it. So I would say that's the most important thing. just let them take their time and let them join when they're feeling ready to join, rather than making them join in when they're not ready. If they're not ready, just let them observe. I think it's really helpful. The other thing that's helpful is to have some of the flavourless toothpaste that I was talking about, because that's going to be much, much more acceptable, I think, than using a minty toothpaste. And even the children's ones are pretty minty as well. And otherwise, get in touch with us if there's any other advice that you need with that.
You have given us some fantastic ideas today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Verity. Lovely to be here today.
Remember to look out for the Coldtail Top Tips on social media at Square Mile Families. Thanks for listening, everyone, and see you at the next one. Bye.